18 subtle signs. Your body is whispering, don't ignore them. You think it's just fatigue, just indigestion, just aging. But what if it's not? What if your body has been whispering a warning and no one ever taught you how to listen? Right now, deep inside someone you love, or inside yourself, something silent might be growing. And when it finally speaks loudly, it might already be too late. But today, you get to hear it early. You get to understand the signs no one else told you about. You get to give your future, or someone else's, a second chance. This video could be the turning point, not because it's dramatic, but because it's honest. And if you watch through to the end, you'll walk away with life-saving insight that could protect your family, your peace of mind, and the precious years still ahead of you. So don't pause. Don't scroll. Don't wait until symptoms knock down your door. Let's uncover the quiet truth about your health. Together. Right now. There's something sacred about aging, a quiet kind of strength. The hands that once held children now tremble, not with weakness, but with a lifetime of stories. The smile lines, the slower steps, the softer voice. They're not signs of decay, but reminders that you've lived, you've loved, you've endured. But even the wisest bodies can be betrayed by silence, because sometimes it doesn't hurt. It doesn't scream. It doesn't even interrupt your day. It just waits, quietly, as something begins to grow deep inside. Something like pancreatic cancer. You see, the pancreas is a humble organ, tucked away, unassuming. It doesn't beg for attention, but when it's in trouble, it sends out the softest signals. A little fatigue, some bloating, a strange shade in your urine. And because we're kind, and because we're busy, we explain those symptoms away. Just getting older. Probably something I ate. I'll feel better tomorrow. But what if those signs were your only chance? What if recognizing them now, before the pain, before the fear, meant everything? Today, I want to tell you the stories your body has been trying to share. Not to scare you, but to prepare you. Not to take your peace, but to give you the power to protect what matters most. Because behind every symptom is a message. And behind every message, there's a choice. Will you listen? Before we go deeper into these signs, let's first understand why this particular cancer hides so well, and why your body's whispers often go unheard. In Part 2, we'll explore how pancreatic cancer slips through the cracks, and what makes its signals so easy to miss. Have you ever noticed how the body speaks softly at first? It doesn't shout when something begins to go wrong. It whispers. A little more tired than usual. A meal that doesn't sit quite right. A night of sleep that doesn't refresh like it used to. For many of us over 60, these small shifts blend into the rhythm of aging. We chalk it up to stress, to weather, to just getting older. And most of the time, we're not wrong, but sometimes we are. And that margin of error can change everything. Pancreatic cancer is one of the quietest, most deceptive illnesses we face today. Unlike breast or colon cancer, it rarely gives us a clear signal early on. No lump to feel. No obvious bleeding. No sharp, urgent pain. Instead, it tiptoes into our lives disguised as daily discomfort. A little nausea, some bloating, less appetite. An ache that comes and goes. You don't run to the doctor for that. Not when life keeps moving and your responsibilities are waiting. Not when you're told that these things happen with age. But research tells a different story. In many cases, the earliest signs of pancreatic cancer can begin showing themselves 3 to 6 months before a diagnosis. That's not a curse. That's a chance. A precious opportunity, if we know what to look for. You see, your pancreas isn't just a background organ. It helps regulate your blood sugar, break down your food, and support digestion in every meal you eat. When it begins to struggle, it doesn't scream, it sighs. And if we've learned anything with time, it's this. The body always tries to protect you, but it can't do it alone. It needs you to listen. This video isn't here to scare you. It's here to help you pay attention, gently, with compassion, and with hope. Because being informed isn't being afraid. It's being ready. And in the quiet space between symptoms and diagnosis, readiness could mean everything. So now that we understand why this cancer hides and how easily it can sound like just another day, let's begin decoding the earliest messages your body might already be sending. Not to fear them, but to honor them. Up next, the 8 gentle warnings you should never ignore. It often starts here, not with pain, but with a shift. You eat something you've eaten 100 times before, but this time, it doesn't feel right. Your stomach bloats. You feel unusually full after a few bites. There's a faint nausea, not enough to cancel plans, just enough to linger. You chalk it up to bad food, poor sleep, maybe even stress, but your pancreas is already raising its hand. You see, the pancreas creates enzymes that help break down fats, proteins, and carbs. It's the quiet chef of your digestive system, making sure everything you eat gets turned into something your body can use. But when something begins to grow inside, a tumor pressing on ducts, blocking enzyme flow, digestion slows. Suddenly, food lingers too long. Fat doesn't break down properly. Nutrients slip away, unabsorbed, and your body, gently at first, starts to react. One of the earliest signs, a change in your stool. It may become pale, greasy, and hard to flush. It might carry a stronger smell than usual. Not pleasant to talk about, but too important to ignore. You might notice weight loss, not because you're eating less, but because your body isn't absorbing what it needs. Even if you're nourishing yourself, you may feel weaker, thinner, off balance. And yet, none of this screams cancer. That's the danger. These changes masquerade as aging, stress, or diet issues. But for some, they're the first quiet knocks of something more serious. So when your digestion shifts, especially when the symptoms are vague, persistent, and hard to explain, don't ignore them. Your body isn't failing. It's warning, with grace, with hope, with time still on your side. And as your digestion slows, your energy often follows. In the next part, we'll talk about a kind of exhaustion that rest can't fix, a deeper fatigue that may be one of the clearest whispers of all. Coming up, 2. The fatigue that lingers, even after rest. There's tired, and then there's this. Not the kind of tired that comes after a long day, not the sleepiness that fades after coffee or a walk, but something deeper, heavier, like your body is moving through water. You sleep and still wake up drained. You sit down to rest and still feel worn. Even simple things feel like mountains, tying shoes, standing at the sink, walking up 2 stairs. This is not just age. It's not just stress. It's a fatigue that doesn't reset. And sometimes, it's the first sign your body is fighting a battle you haven't seen yet. Pancreatic cancer doesn't just take space, it takes energy. The cancer cells begin to consume the body's fuel, stealing nutrients from healthy cells. Your body is trying, valiantly, to keep you going, but the reserves start to run dry. Muscles weaken. The spark in your mind dims. Even joy feels harder to hold. And here's what makes this so dangerous. We dismiss it. We blame age. We say, "I'm just getting old," or "maybe I need more sleep." But sleep doesn't fix this. This kind of fatigue often arrives before pain, before any scan shows a shadow. It's subtle, but it lingers. And when it refuses to leave, that's when you should start to listen more closely. Because you know your own energy. You know what your normal used to feel like. And when that changes, even gently, it's not weakness to question it. It's wisdom. The kind of wisdom that could save your life, or the life of someone you love. When the body starts to fight silently, it doesn't just drain energy. It can disturb your inner thermostat. Let's talk about those waves of fever, chills, and night sweats. The ones that don't act like a cold, but come and go in ways that feel unexplainable. Coming next. 3. Fevers, shivers, and the fire within. Sometimes the body burns quietly, not in pain, but in temperature. A strange chill in the middle of the afternoon, a sudden wave of heat that rises without warning, or nights when your sheets are damp, though the air is cool and still. You might think it's the flu, or menopause, or your immune system acting up again. But what if it's not? When your pancreas becomes inflamed, when cancer begins to interfere with the flow of bile and enzymes, your body's natural response is to fight. It rallies the immune system. It raises your temperature. But because this is not a virus, there's no clear cycle, no start and stop. Instead, the fever comes and goes, so do the chills, so do the night sweats. Those moments when you wake at 3 a.m. feeling strangely uncomfortable. Not in pain, just wrong. This on and off pattern is different from the steady fever of a cold. It's erratic, subtle, easy to ignore. But inside, your body is waging war on multiple fronts. Bile duct obstruction, pancreatic inflammation, hidden cancer activity, and like any battlefield, the signs don't always come in order. These temperature swings are often paired with fatigue and digestive issues, completing a trio of symptoms that together should raise a flag, especially when they persist without explanation. What makes this symptom especially important is how often it's brushed aside. We cover ourselves with blankets, blame poor circulation. But when the body keeps shifting between hot and cold, day after day, week after week, it's not overreacting. It's reaching out. And sometimes, that cry from within doesn't come as a fever or a chill. It travels deeper, into the bloodstream itself. Let's talk about what happens when the blood thickens, and how a silent clot could be the first real danger. Coming up. 4. Blood clots, when the body slows too much. Have you ever noticed your legs feeling strange? Not just tired, but warm, tender, or a little swollen? Perhaps you saw a reddish patch, or your calf felt sore to touch, even though you didn't strain it. And maybe, just maybe, you shrugged it off. I must have been sitting too long. But sometimes, what's happening inside isn't about posture or a long day. Sometimes it's about blood and how cancer silently changes its flow. You see, pancreatic cancer doesn't just stay in the pancreas. It affects the whole body's chemistry, even the blood. It can trigger a hidden condition called hypercoagulability, meaning your blood starts to clot more easily than it should. And when that happens, a clot can begin to form deep in the leg. This is called deep vein thrombosis, DVT, and it can be deadly. At first, it's subtle, a swollen leg, a tightness that won't go away, a patch of warmth, a dull ache. But if that clot breaks loose, if it travels through the bloodstream and reaches the lungs, it can trigger a pulmonary embolism, a sudden and life-threatening emergency. Here's what's heartbreaking. These signs are often misread. Many think they pulled a muscle, or that it's part of aging, circulation issues, or not drinking enough water. But when these symptoms show up unexpectedly, and especially if they come with breathlessness, chest tightness, or rapid heartbeat, you must act immediately. Pancreatic cancer releases inflammatory substances that disturb your body's natural clotting balance. It tilts you toward danger without fanfare, but you don't have to wait until it becomes a crisis. You can notice the small signs, the strange swelling, the unexplained warmth, the discomfort that wasn't there yesterday. Your blood carries your life, and sometimes it also carries the first warning. The body doesn't just speak through pain or fever. Sometimes the message is quiet, but physical. Coming next, we'll explore how changes in the liver and gallbladder, even if you can't feel them, can offer another key to early detection. Up next, 5. When the organs nearby begin to swell. The body is not made of isolated parts. Everything is connected, deeply, delicately. So when something goes wrong in one place, especially something hidden like pancreatic cancer, other organs begin to respond. Silently, subtly, but meaningfully. 2 of the first to feel the shift are your gallbladder and your liver. Let's begin with the gallbladder, a small, pear-shaped organ tucked beneath your liver. Its job is to store and release bile, helping your body break down fats. But when pancreatic cancer blocks the bile duct, the main highway for bile flow, this gentle organ starts to swell. It tries to keep working. It tries to do its job, but bile has nowhere to go. So it backs up, quietly stretching the gallbladder, silently swelling the liver. At first you feel nothing, but over time there might be subtle pressure under the right rib, a fullness in your upper abdomen, a vague discomfort when eating, or even a yellowing in the eyes, a whisper of jaundice that hasn't yet found its voice. This isn't pain, it's warning. A ripple from the pancreas, echoing through nearby organs. Doctors can sometimes detect this swelling in a physical exam, but more often, it's caught through imaging, a scan revealing what the surface does not. And while these organs are not the main stage of pancreatic cancer, they are often its earliest audience. They feel the shift before we do. They react before we notice. They carry messages, not in words, but in swelling, color, and imbalance. If you've noticed yellow in your skin, a fullness near your ribs, or unusual discomfort after meals, listen. Your body may be sending signals upstream, long before the disease announces itself outright. When bile doesn't flow, digestion doesn't either. Let's talk about the bloating, the tightness, the strange sensation of fullness, even when you haven't eaten much. Coming next. 6. Bloating, gas, and a stomach that speaks. There's a kind of fullness that food doesn't explain. You sit down for a light meal, a bowl of soup, a few bites of toast, and somehow, halfway through, you're done. Not satisfied, just full, tight, uncomfortably so, as if your stomach forgot how to make room. This is early satiety, and it's more than just a strange sensation. It's often one of the quietest red flags that something deeper is unfolding inside your abdomen. When a tumor begins to grow near or within the pancreas, it doesn't always cause direct pain. Instead, it presses against nearby organs, the stomach, small intestine, and surrounding tissues, making digestion feel different, heavier, slower, distorted. Gas may build up even when you haven't eaten much. You might feel bloated from the moment you wake up, before breakfast even begins. And antacids, ginger tea, dietary changes, none of it seems to help for long. The discomfort becomes part of your day. You start adjusting. Smaller meals, looser clothing, fewer outings. You blame aging, or nerves, or something you ate last week. But this isn't ordinary bloating. This is your body telling you that space inside is being taken, and not by food. And what's especially heartbreaking? So many people feel this for months before getting checked. They learn to tolerate it. They learn to live with it, until it's too late. But it doesn't have to be that way. If your bloating feels persistent, if your stomach feels swollen even when empty, if full comes too fast and stays too long, listen closely. The pancreas is a quiet organ, but the body always tries to speak. You don't need to panic. You just need to notice. And take the next gentle, wise step toward clarity. Fullness, swelling, bloating, and sometimes pain. Not the kind that screams, but the kind that radiates from the front to the back. Let's talk about the ache that wraps around you and won't quite leave. Up next. 7. The pain that travels from belly to back. It doesn't shout, it murmurs. A dull, persistent ache deep in the upper belly, the kind that isn't sharp enough to panic you, but also never truly leaves. Sometimes it wraps around to your back, like a hand pressing from the inside out. Sometimes it feels like pressure. Other times, like a slow burn that deepens after meals or when lying flat. You sit up straighter. You change your position. You wonder if it's your posture, or gas, or just something you ate last night. But the ache returns. Not always stronger, but always present, like a shadow following your breath. This kind of discomfort is a classic sign when a tumor develops in the body or tail of the pancreas, areas that are close to a network of nerves and organs. As the tumor grows, it doesn't just affect digestion. It begins to touch nerves, softly at first, but persistently. And because it's not sharp pain, many people dismiss it. They take antacids. They change their diet. They assume it's reflux, or gallbladder, or age. But the pancreas sits deep, behind the stomach, nestled near the spine. When it speaks, it often does so through reflected pain. Pain that travels, that loops, that confuses. And here's where it becomes a danger. By the time the pain becomes strong enough to force action, the tumor may have already grown. That's why early discomfort, even if mild, matters, especially when paired with other symptoms: fatigue, bloating, appetite loss. Suddenly the pattern emerges, and your body is begging to be heard. So if you've felt this strange ache, if it wraps around your torso like a quiet ribbon of discomfort, if it refuses to leave, Don't wait for it to scream. You already have the wisdom. Now give yourself the permission to pause, to question, and to act. There's one more whisper your body sends, and it comes not in pain or pressure, but in color. Let's talk about your urine. Yes, really, because sometimes your kidneys tell the truth before anything else does. Up next. 8. When your body speaks in color. The urine warning sign. You might not think twice about it. You go to the bathroom, you flush. But what if you paused for just a second longer? What if the color you saw, a deep amber, dark yellow, or even brownish tone, wasn't from dehydration or a vitamin? What if it was your body sending one of its clearest, yet most overlooked signals? Your urine is more than waste. It's a messenger, reflecting what's happening deep inside you, especially in your liver, bile ducts, and pancreas. When pancreatic cancer begins to develop, it can silently block the bile duct, the path your body uses to eliminate bilirubin, a compound made when old blood cells break down. When that pathway is blocked, bilirubin starts to build up. Your skin may still look normal, your eyes still white. But the urine, it darkens first, like tea or cola. And unlike with dehydration, this color doesn't go away, even when you drink more water. This subtle shift in shade, often ignored, is sometimes the first visible symptom of pancreatic cancer. And that's the heartbreaking part. So many people see it, but explain it away. I didn't drink enough water. I took some supplements. It'll pass. But it stays. Sometimes days, sometimes weeks. And by the time jaundice appears in the skin or eyes, the disease may already be further along. So let this be a quiet moment of awareness. If your urine is persistently dark, despite hydration, and you've noticed other signs, fatigue, bloating, abdominal discomfort, it's time to pause and listen. You don't need to panic. You just need to be curious, because color speaks. And your body? It's been speaking all along. Now you've heard the 8 quiet truths, signs that so often go unnoticed until they can no longer be ignored. But knowledge alone isn't power. It's what you do with it that creates the chance to heal, to protect, and to stay ahead. Let's take one quiet breath together. You've just heard 8 gentle warnings, not shouted, not dramatic, but deeply human. Not every ache is cancer. Not every change is cause for panic. But some are worth listening to. Because pancreatic cancer doesn't arrive with sirens. It tiptoes. It hides behind fatigue, behind bloating, behind colors and shadows and discomfort you almost learned to live with. But you stayed, you listened, and that already makes you, or someone you love, safer than before. You now know that fatigue that won't go away is more than tiredness. Gas and bloating that linger may not be indigestion. A dark urine stream could be your body's early cry for help. A full feeling after 3 bites isn't just aging. It could be pressure from within. An ache in the back might be a reflection of something deeper. You now understand that early does not always mean loud, and that your body, no matter how quiet, is always on your side. There's no shame in not knowing. Only power in becoming aware. So whether you're watching this for yourself, or for a mother, a father, a spouse, or a friend, remember this. Catching something early is not just about medicine. It's about compassion. It's about honoring the body that has carried you, faithfully, through decades of love, loss, and living. If this video stirred something in you, a memory, a question, a moment of concern, don't let it fade. Share it with someone you love. Bookmark it if you need to revisit the signs. Subscribe if you want more life-saving knowledge presented with warmth, truth, and respect. You are not powerless. You are not behind. You are simply more aware now than before. And awareness, that's the very first step to staying.